Welcome back at the forefront. With just a month to go before the May 12 elections, OCTA Research has released its Tugon ng Masa survey on senatorial preferences. The results show a dramatic shift at the top, with Senator Bong Go overtaking longtime frontrunner Congressman Erwin Tulfo for the #1 spot. Congressman Tulfo had consistently led the rankings since late 2023, making this change a significant development. What factors could have contributed to Senator Bongo's sudden surge in voter support? And joining us today is Dr. Guido David from OCTA Research. Good morning, Dr. Guido.
Good morning, Attorney Karen. Good to see you again.
Well, at first, we're going to talk about the top, meaning leading senatorial candidates. So what do you think accounted for the sudden shift with Senator Bongo now leading the polls? Compared to 2023, as early as 2023, it was consistently Congressman Erwin Tulfo leading the senatorial surveys.
Well, to be fair, the top two positions are statistically within the margin of error. So technically, they're statistically tied. But, you know, if we look at the straight ranking, Senator Bongo is ahead by 3 percentage points compared with Congressman Erwin Tulfo. So their scores are 64 and 61, so it's within the margin of error. But yes, you're correct that in the past, Congressman Erwin Tulfo has maintained a let's say a significant lead over Senator Bongo, and for the first time, or maybe first time recently, that we have seen Senator Bongo at the top, or at least tied with the top position. What could have contributed? This survey was actually conducted March 18 to 25. It's a nationwide survey, face-to-face, with 1,200 respondents, plus minus 3% margin of error. So the part about the ICC arrest is part of the coverage of this. So I think that happened around March 20th or something.
The arrest happened March 12th.
Okay, sorry.
So this is after.
Yeah,
yes,
this is after. Sorry,
yes.
March 12th. Yes,
Yeah.
I got my dates mixed up. But yeah, so March 18. So this comes after the arrest, and that's why it's perhaps a reason why we're seeing some of the candidates endorsed by the former president making a presence in the senatorial rankings.
Mm-hmm. When you said that this data was taken after the arrest of former President Duterte, when it comes to the other candidates, did you see also an effect and some movement?
Well, there's some slight movements, but I think largely disregarding the slight changes in the percentages of the numbers, we have 18 names right now who are statistically within reach of the Magic 12. So there are 18 names who have a chance of making it to the 12 by May 2025. So these include 11 administration candidates, 2 independents, 3 endorsed by the former president. So that's 11 plus 2 plus 3, and then 2 who are independent of these 2 groups, namely former Senators Kiko Pangilinan and Bam Aquino. Of course, the independents are Ben Tulfo and Senator Imee Marcos, and then the 3 endorsed by the former president are the, of course, Senator Bongo and Senator Bato and Willie Revillame.
Willie Revillame is also within that Magic 12, within the reach of the Magic 12.
Within reach of the Magic 12. And just outside the reach is Philip Salvador, but still not exactly within reach, but he may still have an increase in numbers. So we will see within the next month. I mean, the time is short now. So
I did see a lot of movement for Philip Salvador, but including Jimmy Bondoc as well. Jimmy Bondoc also went up in the rankings. I'm trying to look at if I can see it here.
Right.
And then even Raul Lambino went up.
Right.
So parang yung mga candidates po ng PDP laban umakyat din. Is that a fair observation?
That's very fair, Attorney Karen. So we actually we have just outside the magic 12, which is actually 18 names. As we mentioned, Philip Salvador, Rodante Marcoleta, Jimmy Bondoc, Attorney Vic Rodriguez, and some other names below that.
Oh yeah, that's where
so
Raul Lambino is.
Yes.
Yeah. And yun yung mga nakita kong PDP laban.
Right.
And Bato de la Rosa also went up
Right.
within that Magic 12. Umakyat din yung ranking niya. So would you say that this was probably affected as well by the ICC arrest?
Possibly, yes. I think that's the only factor that we can attribute to the increase in numbers of these personalities. Now, what remains to be seen is this upwards movement going to be sustained, or is this something that will be, forgotten or disregarded by the time the elections come in?
Yeah.
So you're correct that some of the other endorsed candidates are just outside the Magic 12, but is there enough time for them to mount, an upwards movement going into the top 12? Now, the top 12 is really it's a very competitive race right now, and I actually likened it or made a similarity analysis that it's like having musical chairs. I don't know if you played that when you were a kid. So it's like I think the top 8 are a bit more secure. I'm not saying that they're definitely going to win, but their chances are very good. I mean, if I was a betting person, I would probably bet on the top 8. But from number 9 to 18, it's like you have 4 chairs and you have 10 people. And then when the music stops, there will be 4 people sitting in these 4 chairs. And then there will be 6 people who are without a chair and who will be standing up.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Would you say that this is one of the tightest senatorial races you've seen in recent years?
I think so because of we've seen tight senatorial races. I mean, even back in 2022, there was some competition for the number 12 to 13 to 14. But that time, it was a bit clear to me, at least as an data analyst, that there were about 13 names trying to fit into 12 seats, which is like in musical chairs, only one was going to be out because the rest were a bit further behind. But this time, it seems like I said, there are 10 names that you want to fit into 4 seats. So that's a lot of names, and a lot of them are prominent names. And based on my reading, those 10 names include 5 administration candidates, 1 independent, 2 who are endorsed by the former president, and 2 who are affiliated with the former or the Liberal Party or.
So basically, for the trend we're seeing right now for the 2025 elections, the strong names, meaning whether they're celebrities or they come from political families, that is prevailing in terms of staying in the top.
Right. They're still prevailing. So these names have a lot of name recall. They include some celebrities, some incumbents, some former senators who have a strong following. I mean, that includes people like former Senator Manny Pacquiao among the list, and some upcomers who are making their presence felt, like for example, Congressman Camille Villar and former Mayor, Makati Mayor Abby Binay, who are, who are running for the Senate for the first time, but they're making their presence felt already. They're somewhere within the top 12.
But they also have name recall because of the families, like the political families.
Right, of course.
Imee Marcos is from a political family, also a re-electionist. Why is she still not making it to the rankings? Like she's at the border.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think we kind of talked about that a
Yes.
little last
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
And from the last time we spoke about it, I think her numbers even dipped a little bit further. And I'm not even just talking about the OCTA Research survey results. I mean, if we look at other survey results, which I have seen, they're showing a similar trend. And although she's still within the magic 12 statistically, so that means that she could still be one of the 4 people with seats by May 12, and I would like to believe that she has some political machinery, a lot of resources at her disposal that could help her get one of the seats. But right now, the trend is not very favorable for her campaign. So that means that there may have to be some adjustments that have to be made regarding her campaign.
Well, there were 2 major events from the last survey periods. One was after the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte, and then after the arrest of former President Duterte. So doon parang bumaba pa si Senator Imee Marcos. But with the recent Senate hearings that are looking into the legality of the arrest of former President Duterte, would you venture that that might have an effect on the rankings of Senator Imee Marcos?
I think that might have an effect, but not necessarily the effect that they want, because I think she has been moving in this direction, or she has moved in this direction, even for several months ago. I mean, just...
By this direction, you mean being an ally of the Dutertes, or the trend in terms of her ranking?
Well, I would say it's both. Like, I think she has been, at least, to put it mildly, leaning towards the camp of the former President Rodrigo Duterte. And maybe now she's more vocal about her position compared to the past. But I think it has been already known by their base where she has been standing. But maybe in the past there was less clarity on this matter. But I think there's been more clarity now. I mean, especially with the hearings, and that could have an effect on her numbers. Definitely, at the minimum, it won't change, but it could increase, it could decrease.
So, for you as a political data scientist, you also don't know where this might go, whether it's up or down.
Well, to be honest, of course, nobody can make predictions, but the trend is not favorable for Senator Imee Marcos. And like I said, I think they might have to calibrate some of their strategies, especially with this last month that people are scrambling, to get airtime, to get visibility, to get ads in. So of course, this is publicity for her, being visible with the Senate hearings. But is this the kind of publicity that would work towards or in their favor? And my sense is that it won't change a lot of what has been perceived over the past months. That's just my honest opinion. It could be different, but my opinion is that it won't really change that much. And whatever trend we're seeing, it may not change that much with regard to the trends.
It's going to be interesting to see the other survey results. Within the last month, is there room for a lot of change for some candidates? Like, for example, if you're beyond the 19 line, you said that for number 9 to number 19, you're within the statistical possibility of still making it to the Magic 12. But for those who are 20 and above, meron pa ba silang pagkakataon? And can things still change within the last month based on your experience in the past elections?
Well, the runway is too short, Attorney Karen. So, we only have 1 month to go. And if you're below, 20 rank, they're probably polling somewhere like 15 to 20% in terms of voter preference. And you need you really need at least maybe 30% to win a Senate seat, maybe more. So it's very challenging if you're number 20 and below, but I would not count anyone out. You know, there could be a sudden event or something that will, you know, make them more votable or more preferred by the voting public. And I mean, in fact, the list would include some former senator, like former Senator Gringo Honasan, who's actually in that range of just below the magic 12. And then, of course, Congressman Marcoleta, I think we talked about Philip Salvador, and Attorney Vic Rodriguez, Colonel Bosita, among others. Again, you know, I can't rule out anything. Nothing is impossible, but definitely it's an uphill battle for those who are outside the top 18. So, you know, one of them might sneak in, you know, get into one of the chairs, but like I said, it's...
But generally 1 month, as you said, is already a short runway for something drastic to change.
And the problem is that it's a very competitive race at the top. So even just to sneak in to these 10 names that I mentioned would be very difficult at this point, because these 10 names all have name recall. They have they're maybe celebrities. They have a name brand that they can bank on. And a lot of these other names we mentioned, some of them are new names that a lot of people are not aware of. So there's definitely, it's definitely going to be a challenge, but not impossible. So I can't, you know, I don't want to rule anything out.
So para sa mga candidates, there's still hope.
Of
Wala
course.
pa mawala ng pag-asa.
There's always hope, yeah.
But as a data scientist, how is there a difference from the OCTA Research Survey compared to other surveys like SWS, for example, Publicus, like because sometimes there is a difference in the rankings that we see. But for ordinary people, we don't know how to interpret. Like, why is there differences?
Well, there's differences because, I mean, let's face it, I mean, these are, you know, nationwide surveys, and sometimes, you know, spots can make a difference, like where they did the survey, etc. Even though the margin of error is plus minus 3%, there could still be some difference in methodologies and difference in approach. But largely, if you look at, you know, surveys like SWS and Pulse, OCTA, and, you know, some others like maybe WR Numero, the names are more or less the same. They might be just get shuffled around, but more or less you're seeing the same names near the top. You know, maybe the top 6, and then the lower 6 within the Magic 12 are, you know, maybe more or less the same names, and the numbers 13 to 18 or 19 are more or less the same names.
So basically, if you employ the same randomization, there can be slight differences, pero hindi drastic. Hindi drastic yung differences.
Right. We won't see very drastic differences between, you know, different surveys. Now, some may show a different survey result. And for example, I was, you know, invited speaker at FEU, you know, just a few days ago, and they had their own, you know, student survey, and their student survey showed very different names. They had former Senator Kiko Pangilinan and former Senator Bam Aquino as leading their polls. But this is a student survey, only within the FEU community. So obviously, the names will be very different from a nationwide survey where you're surveying different classes of people. But you're correct that if you have different surveys with similar methodologies, the results may not be precisely the same, but you're looking at more or less the, you know, where generally a person stands. And you can have an idea where that this person may be, you know, has a very good chance of winning within the top 6. And then this person or this candidate has a chance of winning within the, you know, number 7 to 12 or number 7 to 18. And this person, you know, has an outside chance of winning. So, so I think that's the bottom line. That you know, we can use it to assess, but the rankings won't be exactly the same. I mean, even in the past election, nobody predicted Senator Robin Padilla would make it to #1. He was polling actually as low as about number 6 or 7.
Oh, really? I don't remember that anymore. Na number 6 and 7 yung
polls niya,
sa
right?
polls niya before the elections.
Right, yes. So nobody predicted it. So, I mean, even though, surveys are scientific and everything, so there could still be some, surprises that we may see. But we were not surprised as far as the top 12 because we got the 12 names correct in the 2022 election. So the 12 names we got were the ones who won, but the arrangement was different. So there will be still some changes, and it won't be impossible, like I said, for someone to surge, like 5 spots, like Senator Robin Padilla. Because let's remember, Attorney Karen, there will be some endorsements by certain churches or religious groups, maybe certain celebrities, maybe someone endorsed by Attorney Karen, for example. So
I doubt that would have any effect. But
so there will be these small effects that may add up and accumulate to something more significant. There could be block voting. There could be, certain ethnic groups may vote in certain.
Question, because we're running out of time. Has it ever happened where people are not as accurate in terms of voicing out their vote in terms of who they will vote for? In the U.S., this was an opinion by others that for candidates like in their recent elections, some people were hesitant to say or admit in a survey that they were going to vote for Trump, but in the end, that's really who they were going to vote for, so that they were surprised by the lead in some of the states when it comes to their actual vote. Has that happened here in the Philippines?
Well, with regard to Trump, I was not that surprised because he was actually slightly ahead in the polls. And even though they were statistically close, like as in within the margin of error, Trump had an upward momentum, and that carried over into the elections. So I won't say that Filipinos are like that. Yes, that could be a possibility, but we haven't seen that on full display, especially considering the polls that we looked at back in 2022, 2019, etc. More or less, the surveys get it more or less right, and so there won't be too many surprises in store.
Thank you, and we can expect at least perhaps one more, or possibly 2 surveys before the elections from OCTA Research.
Perhaps one more, but who am I to say?
Thank you so much, Dr. Guido David.
Thank you, Attorney Karen.
With the final pre-election survey now out, voter preferences are becoming clearer, but far from being set in stone. As the campaign enters its final stretch, candidates must double up on visibility, messaging, and voter connection. Navigating unexpected hurdles may just define who breaks through on the election day. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again on Monday, which incidentally is already the beginning of Holy Week. Whether still in Manila or heading to the provinces, have a happy weekend ahead. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.